John Briggs is an importer of Persian rugs into the UK. He travels regularly to Iran to purchase rugs and to meet the Iranian people. This is his story.
The first reaction of people when I say I'm going out to Iran to get carpets is they say, are you not scared? That's something I can't understand, because I know I've been here before, and I know that there's nothing for me to be frightened of when I come out here. I have a warm welcome. My biggest problem is the amount of welcome I have and the amount of food that I have to eat. Just now what I've been doing is looking at carpets some of which are probably about 40 or so years old, and they're being going to be washed, the ones I've selected, and then they'll come back here, and then the finishing work will be done to them. This is just the beginning. There were some round bee jars also. They're a bit more unusual, and it's something new for me to buy, but I've bought some the last trip, and they were quite popular and sold very well. So I'm very pleased with them. You have to remember that you're going to be going to other places, and you might also see better prices also. So in the beginning you want to really buy things that you really want, and that you're very sure about. With a piece like this, the size is good, yeah? The design is nice, but there's a problem with the colours. So the colours are a little bit too strong. This blue is a bit too purpley, and this makes it difficult for me to sell it in Scotland. This might be popular somewhere else, maybe in Germany or somewhere, or in Iran. But for me and for my market, I have to look at this and I think, well, I have to reject this because of the strong colour. Here we are, we're in Isfahan now. We're in Imam Square. It's early evening, the sun's just starting to go. And Imam Square was built in the time of Shah Abbas in the 16th century. This was during a period of renaissance in carpet making, when Shah Abbas gathered together the best weavers in the country to produce some of the finest carpets that's ever been seen. In the buildings here, in the mosaics and tilework that you see, you'll see direct influence on the carpets. So the designs in the domed ceilings and that will be reproduced in carpets such as the Isfahan carpets, but also in Naim carpets. So this was a great influence on carpet weaving. We see intricate curvilinear patterns, and these were translated into carpets normally made either with silk or cork wool carpets with silk foundations. When they first walk in, they don't have any idea. Most people don't have an idea, but in my shop I only sell Persian carpets, and this is something that means a lot to me. Yeah? So I like to think by the time they've left, they will understand a little bit about this, you know, because I make a point of trying to tell people, you know, how important these carpets are and how special they are, you know, and again, this is something that could be lost, you know. That, I mean, there has to be a demand for these carpets. There must be the people that can make them. And it's a very fragile thing. It's gone on for hundreds of years. But in this time that we live in just now, this is something that could just end in a few years, you know. And I think it's very important that we realise that. were constantly on the move. You know, we had the first night, basically 3 hours sleep, and then straight out into Tehran, into the bazaar. A few hours later, flying to Isfahan, and up early in the morning to start again. But I do enjoy it. I mean, I'm very, very tired by the end of it, but it's not just a thing of buying, it's an enormous learning experience as well. And for me, that's just as valuable, because it's not just something that I do as a business, it's something that I really am interested in. And in one trip to Iran, you learn so much. The bad thing about it is that you also learn that you know so little, because it's such an enormous thing to learn about that sometimes you're just overwhelmed by the amount that you have to take in. I'm showing you this because this is an old Isfahan carpet, yeah, and very beautiful. I'm very tempted to buy it, but I'm afraid if we bought this, we'd be getting the plane back tomorrow, because that would be the budget gone.
What makes this one so special?
It's a very fine knotted carpet. It's very attractive, yeah, and its age as well makes it also attractive to collectors. If this was to go to auction or to be sold through a dealer in London, it might cost as much as £60,000. Been good. It was slow to start, but once the word got around what we were looking for, it got better and better. So I've bought some good pieces. So what we're going to do now is we're going to stop for a little bit. It gets quite tiring, you know, you have to concentrate an awful lot. And so what we're going to do now is have a seat, have something to eat. I'm going to look and see just exactly how much I've spent. I've got a rough idea, but I think we're doing okay. Basically, Bahman acts as my agent. The situation in Iran is that the export of carpets is controlled strictly. As an individual, a Western individual, you can only actually take one carpet up to 6 square meters. It doesn't matter if it's only half a square meter, it's only one carpet. But that means to export carpets, you have to do this through a merchant who has got an export license. And in the case of me, that's Bahman. But he also is responsible for listing all of the goods, numbering the goods, and presenting that list to the Department of Industry for an export certificate to be issued.
We have the same taste, so sometimes when we look at the goods, both of us at the same time, we say, oh, that's the goods that we are looking for. And we start to laugh because both of us have the same thoughts about the same goods.
It's quite moving to be in a place like this because you're surrounded with these wonderful designs, but also you've got at the back of your head the thought also that this building was filled also with carpets, and you would have the Shah, all his courtiers, and they would be going about their daily business, or they would be coming to view a polo match, and all the little arches would be filled with decorative pots and things, carpets on the floor, their fine clothes, and it must have been a wonderful place to be then. And looking up into this is just looking at a carpet. We've got this very typical Isfahan Islami design. We've got a medallion in the centre, and this is just exactly as you'll see in some of the carpets. And as we come down from there into the corners, we can see the tree of life design with birds and animals. And again, this is like you'll see in silk carpets and fine Isfahan Naim carpets also. So we can see a direct influence on carpet design in the designs that are in the arches here. We're going to meet a nomadic collector. This is different from what we've been doing in Isfahan and Tehran, where we've been visiting merchants. This man's job is to go out into the countryside to the villages and to the nomadic people to collect carpets. I mean, when we say collector, some people think he's a collector like a stamp collector or something, but this really means that he's going to collect the carpets from the people who want to sell them. I want to show you this just because this is an example of what you see when we're buying them. This carpet's not been clipped, yeah? So it looks very woolly, yeah? So you might dismiss this out of hand right away when you see it. But really when you buy, you've got to look at the back of the carpet, yeah? So when we look at the back, we can see how distinct the pattern is, we can see how much better, and what looks to first to be not a good carpet can be actually quite a good carpet. These are soffres, yeah, and soffres are used to put on top of a carpet when you eat from the carpet. So here they don't use a table. People squat on the floor, put down the soffre, and then put the food onto the soffre. And these are a different technique of weaving. These are sumac flat weave, so they're like a piece of material rather than a pile carpet. This is interesting because this is the very first carpet. It's just like the very first piece I ever bought in Iran in 1973. It's really strange to see this, you know. But I was in Iran traveling, and I spent all my money, literally all my money, on a piece like this, and took it back home. We're heading back now from Neres to Shiraz, so light's just starting to go now, so we're trying to get back as soon as we can. So it's another hairy drive back to Shiraz. These are quite special because, because these are made only by practicing nomadic people. So they're becoming rarer. The less nomadic people they are, the rarer they become. So, I mean, I'm buying these today. In a year's time or 2 years' time, it's going to maybe be a lot more difficult to buy these. So this is a really interesting carpet that we've got here. This is Darius the First, yeah, King of Kings, yeah, and he's fighting with Ahriman, yeah. So this is the first conflict between good and evil. This is going right back to the beginnings of religion, the first monotheist one-god religion, yeah. So here we have Darius, and he's fighting the lion, and here's the lion killing the lambs, yeah. So it's evil taking over innocence, yeah. And above here we have a Zora Mazda, the symbol of light, yeah, and the god of the Zoroastrians. So here you can't see very well in this one, but Darius has got a knife and he's thrusting it into the chest of Ahriman and defeating evil. And by overcoming evil, he ascends to majesty and saves the people. So he's the saviour the Zoroastrian saviour in this. Yeah. Where I am just now is at Persepolis, and Persepolis was initially destroyed by Alexander the Great, and that was almost 2,500 years ago that happened. And he came and chased the Persians from Turkey and through Iraq to here. And when he took over Persepolis, after a great celebration, the palace was destroyed. To this day, the Persian people remember this, and if you talk to some people about this, you would think that this had happened yesterday. But they also talk about the other destroyers of Persepolis, and this was the Arabs who came in to bring Islam to Iran. The evidence that you see around you is that a lot of the faces have been taken off the animals and off the figures. The reason for this is because of them being Sunni Muslims and not wanting representations of people and animals. So when they came to here, they completed the job of Alexander by destroying the statues. And what we see that is not destroyed was buried by sand. And it was only once the sand was taken away it revealed the preserved carvings.
Now here we're going to see the process of dyeing the wool for the carpets. In this case they're using more than they actually need, and this is just to give us a quick result. Rocket from the northeast of Iran is being used here. He's adding it to boiling water, and this will give us a dye-fast yellow colour. Now the second bat is using walnut husks, which the villagers collect, and then they sell them to the dye works.
کاشی انار هم داشتی بپوس انار زود دارم میگیری.
Now the third is pomegranate skins, and these, like the walnuts, they're really just throwaway items.
اینه منتها این خودش خیلی طول میکشه تا رنگ بگیره و همه رنگش نمیده.
The next one's ground madder root, and this gives us the red, and this is the red that we know well from Persian carpets.
باید خیلی بهمش بزنیم. خب بسیار خب اینم که میشناسید لابد کای گندم برید.
This one's wheat straw. Now here's plant indigo. This gives us a blue colour, but it has to be brewed in a special way to achieve that colour.
با چیز خوده ها؟ حالا این گیاهانه که دیدید وقتی میگویم که ما واضحش بگی بریز آقا من میدونم باید چی کار کنم.
Aluminium sulfate's been added here. Now, aluminium sulfate is a mordant, and this gives us colour stability, and in this case it's yellow. They also use copper sulfates to produce a green, and for black they can use iron sulfate.
بله اگر اون وقت یه کاسه هم به من بدید تا همینجا یه آزمایش براشون بکنم. برید سر اون. گرچه این ضد رنگه خوبه.
He's now introducing some hand-spun native wool, but we're also going to add some merino wool, just to see the difference in the textures.
خوبه؟ اینو بگیر. بعد ببینیم چه اتفاق افتاد آخر کار. خب باز دو تا پشم برو تو. یه تیکه ببینن که به چیزی نمیخوام. اینم رو ناس برو. پوشش بندی نکردیم.
They're still using same technique, really. I mean, but the only difference is that the loom is on the ground, yeah? So we've got the warp stretched out, yeah? And what the ladies are doing just now, they're tying the knot and sliding it down. And then eventually what they'll do is, once they've tied the rows of knots with different colours, they'll put in the weft threads. But you'll see they've got a knife in their hand, very sharp knife. They tie the knot. They slide it down and then they cut it off. You'll also see the beater in a moment when they have to beat it. This varies slightly from the loom that they would normally be using if they were settled. If they weren't settled, if they were practicing nomads, because this loom would be made out of wood, yeah, so that they could move it on. But the main thing you notice, they're not using any kind of pattern at all. They've no written pattern or anything. They're just, this is all in their own heads.
خب خانه‌داری هست، بچه داری هست، اون اشاعری که ترکی هست باید بپزیم، میهمونداری هست، به غیر قالی همه کارا زنا بلدن، همه کارا اشاعری باید بکنن. تو زمین باید کار کنن، تو کشاورزی هست.
Can you ask them how long ago it is since they've settled here, if they were living in tents before, or if she's always lived here like this?
تقریبا 25 سال اشاعر بودیم. یه 30 سالم شهری هستیم. شهری و روستایی هم چیزا.
Would she go back?
دلت میخواد دوباره اون زندگی رو یه بار دیگه امتحان کنی؟
اون دیگه نمیاد.
It's impossible.
Yeah. We're heading off now to Ray, just to the south of Tehran, and we're going to go and see the washing factory, where hopefully our carpets will have arrived that we bought in Neres. This is the washing house, yeah. So the carpets that you've seen me buy, they all need to be washed. They've come from tents or from the villages. They're full of dust and dirt. Originally they might have just been made and gone straight from the looms onto the floor, so they would probably have loose dye in them as well. So the washing process can take months. It's quite a lengthy process. All the carpets have got to be checked first, beaten, put down, and then we run water through them. They use the hoe to rake back the pile, to let the grit out, and then using a mild detergent, something that's not going to wash all of the natural lanolin out of the wool, and then they're beaten while wet with this machine that we saw, and this is got flails on it. It's a bit like a car wash, and it's beating the carpet and taking all of the dirt out of the wool. Then it's rinsed again, and then it's put out like this in the sun to dry. This is burning the wool off the back of the carpet. If there's any loose wool on the back of the carpet, then it'll be removed by doing this. We're in Tehran now. We're in the home of a weaver, and this weaver is a gentleman. This is different from what we've seen, and this is more typical of city weaving, that rather than women that are weaving, men are weaving. And this is quite interesting also because what we've got here is a meeting of new technology and old technology. This is an Orientalist painting, a famous painting of the bazaar in Cairo. And this has been scanned into a computer, and then they've printed the picture onto graph paper. And with that, they can plot the colours to materials, and they can produce a carpet which looks just like the painting itself. And carpets really are pixelated forms, just like computers are pixelated forms. So this is adapted quite easily for weaving this carpet. But this doesn't only show that we've got a marriage of very modern technology and very old technology, but it also shows the immense skill that they have at their disposal, that they can take something like this and translate it into something like that. Well, this is interesting for several reasons. One of the reasons is that he's not tying the knots solely with his fingers. He's using this hooked knife, yeah. So what he's doing, he's pushing thread through and then hooking it and tying the knot with this hook, yeah. Then he cuts it with the knife here. Now, the reason for this is because it's such a fine carpet. He's working on a silk warp, and this is a way that he's able to do it. He's tying the knot further up, so he's got more room to move the warp apart, yeah. Then he's sliding the knot down to cut it. But a lot of people say that to make carpets this fine, you need to have small fingers, and this is one of the misconceptions about child labour. To make a carpet like this, you don't need small fingers, you just need this knife, yeah? And the skill that's involved in this, to follow a pattern like this, takes years of practice. This man's probably spent most of his life learning to do this. At the bottom of the carpet is the signature, and he's put the signature on first because he's very sure that at the end of it, it'll be worthy of his signature. So that's quite interesting as well. We're in Hamadan now, and Hamadan district is a big area for carpet weaving. And Hamadan itself, the merchants here go into the countryside, into the villages and collect from all around this area. And I'm looking just now at some of those carpets. It's getting tight. We've miscalculated a little bit, not got quite so much money as I thought I had. So being very careful just now. So I'm looking for goods to fill in what I've got. So I'm looking for things that are different shape, different colours, suit different customers. So I'm being a little bit more selective. This is village weaving, and this is different from some village weaving in that you're now seeing an upright loom. So rather than the loom being on the ground, it's similar to the looms that you would find in the city, but it's made out of very simple materials. The main part of the loom is made out of the split trunk of a tree. So it's wood, and although it's a very simple loom, they're making a very fine beejar style carpet. You can also notice as well that this room here, as well as being the room for the loom, at the far end we've got a very simple cooker, and covered by a cloth we've got all their bedding. So these ladies will not only work here, but this is their home. So when it comes night time, they can put out their bedding and they'll sleep on the carpet on the floor. And this is one of the main uses of carpets, is it's something to protect you from the cold. And we can see out the window from the snow on the hills that it's a necessary thing. You'll also notice as well that these ladies are working from a pattern. These patterns are either supplied by merchants who might employ them to make the carpet, or they'll buy the patterns in the market, and when they're finished with it they can take it back to the market, they can sell it, and they can buy a new pattern. The other interesting thing here is that the carpet pattern looks a little bit blurred, and the reason for that is that unlike the other looms that we've seen, these ladies are not clipping the carpet after they're tied the knot. Okay, merci, thank you. Bye-bye.
خداحافظ شما. There are different thoughts about the relationship between two countries, between Iran and Britain. And as I told you, we have had bad experience about Britain in the past. But as I told you, it's history. We have to try to make the future for both nations to get benefit from the communications that they are going to have later on.
Well, I'd like to think that more people would be able to visit Iran, because I really think people should visit Iran because it's an amazing country. I mean, I think anyone coming here would really enjoy the experience of seeing places like Persepolis, Isfahan, Shiraz, the gardens in Shiraz. And I really think it will be a good thing if people are able to come here.